Welcome to the Ghosts of Plum Run Hour. I'm Tim Russo, author of the Star Wars series for leftists, Ghosts of Plum Run. And we have a special episode today in solidarity with the working class in New York City with Chris Banks, who is organizing protests against the vaccine mandates in New York City. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Great
Thanks,
to
man.
see you. Tell us who you are.
Well, my name is Chris Banks. I'm a local East New York community activist, and I've organized on a host of issues, fighting for Black equality, Black Lives Matter, and then most recently I've been, orchestrating fighting against the vaccine mandate. But on a host of issues, whether it's tennis rights and things of that matter, being an advocate for the people and the folks who need assistance.
Where are you from?
Brooklyn, East New York, born and raised. My parents are I'm a first generation. My parents are from the Caribbeans, and but I was born and raised here in Brooklyn.
Giants fan or a Jets fan?
I'm a Giants fan.
So not going so well for you these days.
Definitely not. No. Very cold in Giant Stadium.
Now, on sports, are you a Brooklyn Nets fan?
I'm a '90s New York Knicks fan.
Oh, well, that was a good team. That was a good team. But the reason I bring that up is because Kyrie Irving is organizing just like you.
Okay. Hold on 1 minute.
Is that your doorbell?
Yeah, doorbell.
I'll tell our audience about Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving of the Brooklyn Nets, who used to be a Cleveland Cavalier. Cavs drafted him number 1 right after LeBron James left town. And Kyrie Irving is said to be organizing against the vaccine mandates in New York City, just like you are, Chris.
Well, that's definitely good to hear. I mean, that there's a NBA player who's using his platform to organize folks and get the word out.
Now, who's a better team, the Brooklyn Nets today or that Knicks team that you like?
I would say, well, I'm a little biased because I was a diehard Patrick and John Starks fan, and also I was an Allen Houston fan. So, no, I'm Knicks till I die.
Knicks do or die. All right. So let's get right back to it. So let's let our audience know where everybody stands. So I am unvaccinated. I do not intend to get vaccinated. Chris, yourself?
I am vaccinated, but I'm strongly against it being mandated. I'm for folks doing it voluntarily or don't doing it if they don't choose
to. So tell us what's happening in New York about this. Why are you organizing?
Well, in New York, it's obviously New York is the mecca for a lot of issues, and they always say, "So goes New York, so goes the world." But we've actually recently did a organizing for 9 staff members who were recently fired from a particular junior high school. It was an after-school program that was co-located in the building at IS 292. And Good Shepherd Services, which is the sponsoring organization that sponsors the after-school program, gave them an ultimatum: get vaccinated or get terminated. And they terminated them as of last Friday. And I think why this was so egregious, like some of the stories you're hearing throughout the entire country, but particularly here in East New York, Brooklyn, was because these are workers who, during the pandemic, were delivering food, clothes, all types of things that were needed to help folks. They were essential workers. So we're saying if they were essential then, they should be essential now. And using a vaccine as a way to terminate them, to me, it is definitely a slap in their face. And what it does is it further traumatizes the students who are trying to acclimate it and get back to normalcy in their school, and now they have to now go through of seeing these staff members leave and get reacclimated with a whole bunch of new staff members who possibly may come. And we just think it's unfair. And again, it goes against. We believe that the vaccine mandate, this just draconian policy that's being pushed by Mayor Pacasio, is just it's dictatorial, it's unconstitutional, and it's obviously something that we're going to continue to fight against.
So how did that work for the 9 people who were fired? They were notified by email that they had to get the vaccine, or what?
Yeah, they were notified via email that they had to get the vaccine. Then they got verbal terminations from the I guess from
Verbal.
whoever, verbal. But it's crazy, and this is the good news, because I got a call from the director early this morning that Sunday midday that he got a call, and Good Shepherd Church asked them to come back to work.
What?
Terminated their termination letters and gave them all back their emails, put their information back up on the website, and told them to report back to work on Monday, because they said that it's contingent upon the hiring or their employment is contingent upon what's taking place in the courts. And we recently had a big victory where a judge, or I believe an appeals court, basically put a stay in effect on
Wow.
the vaccine here in New York City for New York City teachers or DOE employees. So that was definitely a big win. But the caveat is that there's I believe, a 3-panel judge panel that's supposed to convene Wednesday and supposed to make a final decision. So I'm praying and hoping that they side with the people, and they support standing with people's rights, to one to one be able to bring forth an exemption, some type of exemption, which is medical or or religious, and that be accepted as a valid means to not take the vaccination or not be forced to take the vaccination.
Let me walk this back. So they were fired on Friday.
They were fired on Friday.
They spent the weekend activating, protesting. Is that right?
Well, the protest was on Friday too, because once we found out that their last day was going to be Friday, Thursday and Wednesday we started organizing the parents, the students, and we got at least about 100 parents or so, 100 parents and students.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah,
and tell me about these parents. Were they vaccinated, unvaccinated? Politically, where did they stand? What was the mix?
You know, it's probably interesting. I know in my particular community, the vaccination numbers are extremely low. So I would suggest that there are a lot of parents who are probably not vaccinated. But you know, if that's their choice, that's their choice to do so. You know, it goes back to choice. So I think the parents were siding with what they believe was best for their students, and they believe having these staff members there, vaccinated or not vaccinated, to be there to continue to provide a experience, an education experience to these kids, so they can go on and be great.
So tell us about these 9 people who were fired. What do they do? What was their employer?
Well, their employer is Good Shepherd Services. It's a nonprofit organization that provides, and I believe it's part of like one of the Catholic organizations that provide services
Really?
on after school programs and a whole host of programs they
Are they in
provide.
the New York diocese?
They're connected in some way. I mean, I don't know. I do know that the organization came from the whole Catholic, one of those organizations where it branched off from Catholic Charities, and they created Good Shepherds. I mean, you could just tell by the name that it's a religious. It's secretary.
And Good Shepherd works at PS.
Good Shepherd, they actually are co-located in a junior high school, which is 292, which is it's a middle school.
PS 292.
IS, intermediate.
IS 292, and that's in Brooklyn.
That's in Brooklyn, New York. Yes.
And they spent the weekend unemployed, not knowing what's going on. And
correct.
Monday,
Monday morning. Well, it's actually Sunday,
Sunday.
midday. They said with midday evening time, they got some got text messages, but the director called me early Monday morning today, and he told me, he says, Chris, I'm reporting into work. They told me to come in, and he says, normally they report for like 2 or 1 o'clock, but he said he was going in early because he was going to get tested. Because normally, for those who did not want to get vaccinated, they will get tested every week, which to me is a plausible and acceptable mitigation to prevent the spread.
And so he went into work this morning.
Mm-hmm.
How's everything now?
I haven't spoken to him. He told me he was reporting back to work, and I believe nothing has changed. I mean, I believe management what he had told me is that the management is saying that their employment is still contingent on what happens on Wednesday.
At the
So
court.
we may, if the courts go a different direction and don't stand with the people, or with folk, with folks having their God-given right not to take the vaccination, they could be terminated and we'll be back in the streets protesting and rallying. I mean, this just doesn't stop with that particular micro situation in East New York. I mean, this is something that is going to be ongoing.
Yeah. So that's why I want to get all the facts down. So Good Shepherd, what do those people do in the school? What's their job?
They the director is the administrator, and then they have group leaders. They tutor folks for the after school program, help them with homework help, recreational activities, cultural activities, a whole host of things that they provide to these particular students who attend their program from the school. And it's about 50 to 60 to 70 kids who attend their program that they get every day after school, that come get lunch and they get a little supper and they have activities, keep them off the street.
So these are kids getting fed, kids being taken care of after school,
homework help.
And is it a good job, or is it a good paying job?
No, these are working folks. That was another issue, because these are folks that are, that making $15 an hour, some $13, $12 an hour. These are hardworking folks, regular average folks that you would see, and they live in our neighborhood, live in East New York, and so them losing their job obviously would be an economic hardship.
Is it a part-time or a full-time for these folks?
Yes, I believe the director and the education coordinator are full-time positions, but the other positions are all part-time.
So they would lose a part-time job for the most part.
They would lose a part-time job, and the other thing is that some of the part-time workers, like 2 of them told me that this is their only means of income, so it would definitely hurt them.
And in New York City, $12 an hour ain't nothing.
No, definitely not.
It ain't much in Cleveland, I'll tell you that.
Well, if it ain't much in Cleveland, New York City.
So talk about were you a part of the protests with BLM Greater New York with Hawk, Newsom, and Chavona?
No, against Carmine's. No. But I paid attention. I protested with Hawk on many issues, not on the vaccination issue, but I protested with on George Floyd and a whole host of issues that we've dealt with here in New York City.
So for our listeners, this was an action at Carmine's restaurant in Manhattan where people tried to get served at the restaurant and were booted out, right?
Right.
Because they weren't vaccinated.
Right. And there was
Hawk
also
raised some hell.
It was a racial slur used against them also during the process.
And this vaccine mandate is becoming a racist policy, right?
Well, it's especially when you look at communities like East New York, Brownsville, more less affluent communities that predominantly are Black and Brown communities, we get hit the hardest. So saying that when America gets the cold, the Black community gets the flu. And that's true. So every situation, whether it was the pandemic, whether it was, the police brutality, we get the shitty end of the stick all the time. And for those folks, listen, those part-time folks like this particular program who said, listen, this is my only means of income. It definitely widens the economic gap. It puts us in a greater disadvantage as a community when you have a part-time person being prosecuted in a sense and penalized economically for not taking a vaccine.
Were you at that event at the mall where they walked into the food court?
No, I wasn't, but I actually followed it. I saw it a couple of times on social media, and I think it was definitely genius for them to take those type of activist moves. Loved it.
And I think Leroy, we're talking about Leroy's Instagram feed for everybody listening. Leroy Press on Instagram. He's covering this stuff, and I saw one today where he's at a square in New York City, and there had to be, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 people.
Yeah, he's really been covering a lot of the protests, and I mean, really in your face protests.
Let me ask you this: so, are you seeing any political cross pollination here? I mean, it seems to me that from Leroy's feed and from Hawk and Chavona's stuff that this isn't just this isn't just a political cookie cutter, like the obvious people are not joining in this. It seems to me that there's some crossover here. Are you noticing that?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the actual politicians, or you're
No,
talking
the protesters.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's across the board. These are folks who would be protesting, who had protested during George Floyd. These are some of the same folks who are out in the streets and fighting for folks' liberties and constitutional rights, which we all believe are being violated.
Are you seeing Trump folks come out?
Well, and that's strange too. I mean, it's kind of strange too, because this issue, I hate to say it, the Trumpites have obviously this is an issue too that we kind of agree on to some degree. I could say we agree on, because they're actually talking about, they're anti-vax too. So, and they're talking about, this is violating their constitutional rights and their liberties. So, I mean, on that note, I mean, I would hate to say we agree, but there is some universal common denominator that puts everybody on the same page when it comes to fighting against these racist dictatorial policy.
So at PIA, or I'm sorry, IS 292, right? IS 292. It's mainly African American students and Latino students, right?
Predominantly African American, Latino, yes.
And are you seeing any Latino organizing around the issue?
Yeah, I mean, collectively, yeah. I mean, there are. I mean, at this particular school, you have some of the parent leadership is the PTA is made up of Hispanics and Blacks. So I mean, I mean, and they have come out. I mean, and have said, even when we were organizing the parents, they said, "Well, Chris, we'll get up and speak in Spanish." I mean, there's organizing across the board, and I would say throughout the entire city, it's a combination of folks who are, just mad as hell and fighting.
So now it's going to get thorny, because I'm going to ask you a toughie. Are you getting a booster?
You know what? I haven't made my mind up what I'm gonna do as yet. So I wouldn't, listen, I always tell folks vaccine is a personal matter. And when folks or somebody decides to take the vaccine, I mean, I don't even think they should, if they choose not to disclose it, they have that right to, especially if it's, public matter. And I would like to keep it that way in that sense with the booster, because it's,
Right.
but it goes back to your body, your choice. Nobody has a right to make any decision when it comes to what goes in your body and what you choose to put in your body. I mean, that's there are worse things there that are legalized that they allow folks to put in their body, and no one says anything about it.
Is it um a decision you're going to make based on the mandate or something else?
No, definitely not the mandate. If I make the decision, it would be solely be based off of me and my doctor,
Mm.
like I
So,
did with the vaccine.
so if you refuse to take the booster, are you worried that a mandate will apply to you now?
You know what? That may possibly be the case. I mean, uh, it seems like every day things are narrowing and narrowing and narrowing and narrowing. So they may now they may turn on those who are not getting the third booster shot. Uh, I would hope that wouldn't be the case, but nothing seems to shock me with this government, especially as a black man.
Now, did you vote for Joe Biden?
Yeah, unfortunately, I did.
Are you are you are you starting to regret that?
Um, well, I regretted it the day after I voted for him.
Really?
Yeah,
The next day?
the next day I regretted that I'm a Bernie fan really. It was like Bernie do or die. Even if Bernie would have stayed in the race, I just wanted him to just, but he didn't. But it was Bernie. It was either it was Bernie or bust. But Hillary and with Biden, if he would have stuck to it, I would have stayed with him. Sometimes you got to fight and die. Sometimes you got to blow up things and destroy things, just to make a point. Um, so to me, it was worth just that much. That's why I ran as a delegate for Bernie, and I beat the machine here in Brooklyn. Um,
So you were a
and
delegate to the convention.
I was a delegate in the recent convention for, what is it, 2020, 2021? Yeah.
20, it seems like years and years ago, don't it?
Right. And I was a delegate too for when he ran against uh, Hillary Clinton.
So you've been a delegate for Bernie twice.
I was a delegate for Bernie twice.
So
Don't regret. Yeah.
that's two different conventions, man. I mean, that's the COVID convention you did from right where you're sitting right now, right?
Yeah, the COVID convention we did, right. Everything was virtual. And I didn't really I only tuned in to cash my vote and to hear Bernie's speech.
That was it.
I didn't look at anything else.
You didn't watch him dance and sing and all the rest of it.
I could look at other shows and get entertained.
Now, do you notice any Bernie action in the COVID mandate protests?
It's strange. I mean, as far as him directly or his organization,
His folks on the ground, at the
I
school
would
and
I would say most of the folks that probably supported Bernie were probably anti-vax, or let's say this, not anti-vax, that are anti-mandate.
okay.
Because I believe there are two classes. You got anti-vaccination folks, and then you got folks who are anti the mandate. You can be anti the mandate by not anti-vax.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just tell you right now for our listeners, I would love to see a vaccine that works.
Right.
And I don't think this one works. I think a booster is definition that it does not work. And I'm pretty comfortable with my decision to not get this vaccine because I don't think it works. I would love to see one that does. And then, that takes time, right? To see whether or not the shit works, you got to watch a lot of fucking data, right?
That's definitely true.
Did you pay attention to that on the way in, or did you just go, I'm getting the vax, I don't care?
Well, I actually listened to both sides, and I just made the decision to get the vaccine regardless. I said, let me get it. And the strange thing about it, I got the vaccine back in March or April, and I contracted COVID about a month ago. So,
ladies and gentlemen, breaking news: Chris Banks vaccinated
and contracted COVID.
Caught the shit anyway. Do you know, how did you feel? How was it?
Well, I mean, I can't say as far as the efficacy of the vaccine. My symptoms were light, so I mean, I didn't deal with a lot of symptoms that a lot of folks that I know that were not vaccinated dealt with. So, I mean, that's where the debate comes into. So, that's definitely something that that's what I said. It's an individual decision. It is an individual decision.
Did you think you were going to not get infected?
No, I knew that that there was a possibility. I knew that the vaccine that it would not prevent you from contracting COVID.
And you got it. So how do you think you got it?
I could have got it from somebody who was asymptomatic. Could have got it from somebody who was obviously from somebody who contracted it, but probably during that 2-day waiting period, 24 hours, 72 waiting period, but before you start getting symptoms, I could. So, I mean,
there you go. We're back. We thought we maybe the NSA was cutting us off there for a second.
They probably tapped in. You know how it is.
So
government always working, never sleeping.
I'm pretty sure I caught it early before anybody really knew what the hell was going on. One of the reasons why I'm not vaccinated, because once you get it, you're way better off having had it than
that's what I was told.
And the studies come out now, that you wouldn't have known that from data back in February of 2020, March of 2020. But the data comes out now that you're about 27 times less likely to catch it again if you've had it once before than with the vaccine. And that's data you would not have had,
right,
to make the decision. And that's data I certainly didn't have. But if you've had it, why would you get the vaccine? The vaccine is worse for you if you've already had it. And that's sort of where I'm at now is, you got to show me a lot more. It's got to be much more effective than 27 times worse. 27 times worse than having had it. If I've had it, I'm good. I don't need your mandate, and your mandate is nothing but a threat to my job at that point.
Correct.
How do these folks who have their jobs threatened deal with this? I mean, this must be traumatic.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you have to, go to work every day thinking that you can lose your job. If they make a decision and it's traumatizing, and it's a slap in the face to hardworking folks who go in and day out, and who do. I mean, some of these companies got millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to give hazardous pay, and didn't even give the hazardous pay to the workers. Gave them days off. No, give them the money that you fat cats got at the top. And that's one of the things the director told me. He said, Chris, they got so much money. They even give us hazardous pay. They gave us some bonus, $500. And
it's the Catholic Church too. That's the best part. Catholic Church. Good Shepherd is a Catholic Church affiliated, right?
They definitely not being good shepherds.
I think maybe that's your next stop. If this 3-judge panel decides they have to go, I think your next stop is the diocese.
We may have to take it to them. I believe it, and I believe uh, the car. What is it? The arch. What is it?
Archbishop.
The Archbishop Egan, I believe. He actually came out in support of the vaccine. So I
Well,
saw
you're
on
going to
Twitter.
make his life miserable if this 3-judge panel. You know what? Maybe that's what I'd do. I'd call up the Archbishop. I'd say, "Hey, listen, this 3-judge panel. I'm sure you know him.
Right.
You
No,
want
I
us to
do.
make your life miserable next week or not?"
We know exactly where he lives. Not hard to find particularly the main Catholic church in the
And
city of New York.
and if I was you, I'd be going to the Brooklyn Nets. I'd be finding Kyrie.
Right. Maybe that'd be a good way for him to help us out. More bodies, more people, a higher, bigger platform. I mean, we'll make our voices much more louder and much more potent.
And I watched Kyrie play for the Cavaliers for years. And I can tell you one thing: he ain't going to get the vaccine.
Right. Has the NBA done any mandates?
The Players Association didn't budge.
Okay.
But these local ordinances, like in New York, is the issue.
Gotcha.
So Kyrie not allowed to play in New York if he ain't vaccinated.
So the city's mandate will obviously hurt him in this jurisdiction, in this state.
And in San Francisco, where Andrew Wiggins has the same problem.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So
interesting.
So yeah, the NBA is a nice little hotspot for this issue because of these local ordinances. Now, the NBA Players Association should be standing up, right, and calling up these local elected officials in those cities and being like, "You don't want Kyrie Irving on the court? Really? That's what you want?"
Well, some of these unions that in the early stages of their formation built their prestige and their hard work on fighting for hard work, the regular working folk have sold out.
Oh, you don't even need to get me started on that.
It's so hypocritical. It goes against every. It's very hypocritical.
Well, this is probably what's going to get me canceled off of Midwestern Marks, but I'm finding that on the left quite a bit, especially with this COVID stuff. Yeah. There is nothing more targeted to the working class than this vaccine mandate, and in Marxism and communism, everything begins and ends with the working class.
Right.
So if you ain't got the working class, you ain't got nothing, let alone a revolution, let alone communism, let alone socialism, nothing. You got nothing if you ain't got the working class. Well, right now, it looks to me like a lot of these folks want to sell the working class down the river.
That's true.
And that's why I want to talk to you. I want to get your perspective on this from the ground and working with people whose jobs are under threat with this stuff, and we're just going to let it happen.
Right.
I think that's wrong, and I think we should show more solidarity on this very issue. And one of the reasons why I'm curious as to how how many Trump folks are in your organizing. I think that's a real opportunity.
Well, I don't be honest. I mean, as I said, across the city, I believe there are probably people who supported Trump or whatever, and that are probably in the realm. But I mean, I don't think that any Trump supporters out here in East New York, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I find it extremely hard. I would have found it extremely hard. This is like a 99.9%.
That's why Leroy had to go out to New Jersey to a shopping mall.
Right.
to get but, I mean, you might have a few out, in Staten Island.
Staten Island and maybe more southern Brooklyn. We're a little more conservative on that side. But
you know anybody down there?
You know what? I mean, I don't know them. I don't know. I don't know anyone personally out there too. But I've been amongst them, but I don't know anybody personally. But I think across the barrier line, whether it's white, black, whatever color you are, whatever race you are, this is an attack on everybody, and it's against working folks. And as you had said earlier, you said if it wasn't for the working class in this country, we wouldn't be able to keep this vulturistic, capitalistic society going. So to keep to keep feeding these folks who are who is this parasitic capitalistic culture that is really pushing this vaccine. I mean, big pharma and all these Pfizer and Moderna.
Yeah, I mean, you want trouble, you should just get on a train, go out to New Jersey, go out to Princeton and all of that, New Brunswick. You want to really get some attention.
Maybe that may be a good idea. Maybe we need to go in some areas that that for folks who where we will get some good attention.
Cory Booker, he's a pharma. He's in the pocket.
He probably, most likely. I don't know what his donations look like. I mean, he's receiving donations, but it wouldn't surprise me. The corporate elite Democratic machine is all in the bed with pharma. They're no different than the Republican Party.
They're not, and you can see it. You can see it more in the Republican Party because what really the dynamic of the last 40 years, most of my life, has been Democrats abandoning the working class to the Republican Party.
Yes.
And you see that here in Ohio. And you can see it in Mike DeWine's eyes, our governor, every time he stands up in front of a camera trying to justify this pharma sales job that he's doing. He knows that in the Republican Party, the base there is very working class, and a lot of those folks are getting targeted by this mandate, and he is very uncomfortable, and they're making things very uncomfortable for Mike DeWine here, and I think we need to start making things uncomfortable on the other side, and I think Cory Booker is a good target for you guys.
I mean, I didn't know. Yeah, that's interesting, but Cory Booker, yeah, I don't. I mean, that's
New Jersey,
I mean, Jersey is Jersey. It seems like they also have the mandate too. Governor Murphy's.
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
I haven't met I mean, especially the governor's probably on the other side of this. In the other side, it's for the Democrat and Republican. They're the ones that's anti-mandate and so forth and so forth. But where I live at here in New York State, I mean, the governor, we had the new governor that came in, Hochul. She's just a carbon copy,
right?
In a sense, when it comes to the same policies that Cuomo was pushing when it comes to the vaccine. So nothing different. And I think it's just a reminder that we just got to continue to keep on fighting for folks' individual rights to make.
So tell us about your folks at the IS 292. What are they doing this week? How are they doing?
Most likely, well, they're back at work. And what we're probably going to do, we're going to organize another action. Possibly, we're going to wait to see what comes down on Wednesday. And we're going to probably shoot to organize another action, hopefully by like Friday. Whether it's a victory action or a mad as hell action. And then really look at how we can take it even further in visiting some of the executives of Good Shepherd Services, and maybe knocking on the mayor's door with but 200 kids
and the Archbishop.
And the Archbishop, right? Got to wake him up.
And this case, what is the case in state court or federal court, or where is it?
I believe that the decision that just came down, the stay that just came down, was in this federal, went to the federal, went to the appeals, federal appeals.
Now, do you know who the plaintiff is in that?
I believe it's two independent teachers who sued the city of New York, Department of Education.
They sued the city
They sued the city.
because this is the city's mandate on IS 292 as it applies there.
Well, and this independent two teachers that sued are just teachers who work for the Department of Education. They work in one of the boroughs, but their lawsuit obviously
right
affected because I believe there was a lawsuit that was filed against the city by the union, or a particular union. I forget which union it was, but it failed. But this particular suit that was filed by these two teachers was successful to get the state.
Imagine that the labor union's lawyers can't pull it off.
Labor union, could you believe that? All the big money that these hardworking folks pay in dues, and some of them can't even really afford to pay. Some of them can't really afford to pay the dues, but they sacrifice because they have been, they believe that the unions, some of the unions are going to fight for them, but nevertheless, this is what the culture puts out.
Have you been in touch with those plaintiffs' lawyers?
No, I haven't. I've just been following them, just reading every time an article has come out or when a decision is made. I've just been reading so that I could inform other folks and let them know, listen, this is what's going on. And, the stay is in, so don't worry about it. Go get tested, go back to work. For those folks who are, because a lot of people that are saying they want to quit. I know a lot of teachers who are prepping their kids, children, students, and saying, this is our last day at work. And
really?
Monday we won't be here. I know a couple of teachers who said that they had to prep their kids and say, listen, we're not getting vaccinated, so we won't be here Monday. And there was, with the mandate for the teachers, there was actually the man is defiant, dictatorial ways, said that, well, he really didn't care, in a sense, that the teachers would be terminated, because he said he had 1,000 substitute teachers ready to fill.
Oh, yeah, he's doing that right now with the healthcare workers.
And right now they're bringing in the
National Guard. He's bringing in the National Guard and firing all those heroes from last year. Were heroes, big heroes. Everybody's out there clapping on Fifth Avenue from their $500,000 one bedroom.
So true.
Unbelievable. And now he's bringing in a military police state to
make it into police,
to shove a needle in people.
Right. Yeah. And it's such a violation across the board.
Do you see this building as a movement?
Yes, I believe it is building. Is already a movement. That is obviously spreading, and I believe there are folks that honestly, as I said, across the board, there are folks that I know who are vaccinated but don't believe in the mandate. And when you turn them off, when you hear that people are, possibly could lose their jobs, could lose their means of income, that the working class is being threatened. And not just threatened, but it's being very punitive. As far as the what it's doing, and I think across the board, like we said about the pandemic, how it had opened up a can of worms in a lot of lesser affluent communities, Black and brown communities. When you see the health gap and things of that nature, this is the same thing. The this rollout, the vaccination, quote unquote, the pill that's going to save the day, the Superman, is turning to be a nightmare for hard working folks in this country.
Yeah, I mean, on every measure since the vaccine has come out, stuff has gotten worse.
Yes, I agree.
Especially for these working folks who last year were hailed as heroes and now out of a job.
Right. They're looked at as scum. The people that who are like, I heard somebody say on CNN, so I guess one of the advisors that they don't realize that they're hurting people, that they're putting other people's lives in danger. And I said, I mean, the nerve of this lady to say this. I mean, in one breath you commend them for being essential, but then another breath you tell them that they're hazardous,
dangerous,
a
danger to your children,
a danger is a hazard, a danger to the children, and that they should be dismissed like garbage and thrown somewhere. I mean, it's definitely obvious. There's no compassion. There is, and I don't expect it to be any compassion, because one thing you learn about vulture capitalism, it's all about the mighty dollar, and when that is if that is the aim and the goal, the working class can forget about it. America is on a downturn.
And on that note, that happy note, let's end on a happier note. Any chance you're a Browns fan?
No, I'm not a Browns fan.
Well, you better start being one.
Is that a threat? Is that a mandate?
No, that ain't. I got the National Guard behind me on that one.
You got the National Guard. Yes,
I ain't got the National Guard. I'm just saying the Browns are going to be good this year, and you might as well get on the bandwagon because they're going to be good.
I'll be looking at some more football coming up. We'll see.
Yeah, and you're watching the Giants and the Jets, and they're both.
Yeah, those seasons are definitely not going to be interesting. But
so just for here, there you go, right there. There's your team.
I'll take a picture right now. Click. and I'll think about that one. But I'm loyal. Here in New York, you got to stay loyal to the cause.
Well, the Brooklyn Nets, man, Kyrie, you might be a big Kyrie fan coming up. I mean,
yeah, I want to see Kyrie. What he's gonna do. And with this season coming up, so we'll
give him a holler about this COVID vaccine mandate. I'm sure you'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, now that I know, I'm gonna actually tag him in on some of the stuff you've been doing.
Thank you very much, Chris, for taking time out. And if you know of anybody else who's organizing on this and wants to talk to some raving communists, you just let me know.
Definitely will. I believe everybody deserves to have a seat at the table. Some folks.
So thank you for joining us on the Ghosts of Plum Run Hour. I'm Tim Russo, the author of the Star Wars series for leftist, Ghosts of Plum Run, with our guest, Chris Banks. Thanks for joining us, Chris. We really appreciate it.
Power to the people, man. Take care, bro.
You too.
All right.